So in the previous section, we talked about how emotions form in the brain using the analogy of a deer and a mountain lion. Now here's the thing. All your brain really cares about is two things: pleasure and pain. That's it. Anything that brings pleasure is going to leak dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. Anything that brings pain or could potentially bring pain is gonna flood you with cortisol and adrenaline. That's just how it works. Now here's the problem we find ourselves in. As human beings in our modern day, we don't really have to worry about getting attacked by a mountain lion unless we're hiking. We worry about a different kind of pain. We worry about emotional pain.
What happened?
He's colorblind. He can't fly.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, no.
Things that can cause us emotional stress. These are things like fighting with our loved ones, getting in trouble at work, not meeting deadlines and getting ridiculed from it. Things like this are gonna cause us the same reaction chemically as that deer running from that lion. But here's the other problem. Thanks to that imagination that we developed, the very tool that helped save us from the mountain lion in the first place, we don't even have to really experience the problems I was talking about earlier. All we have to do is imagine them happening. And our poor amygdala doesn't know the difference. It is going to leak cortisol whether what we're afraid of is actually happening or not. Our brains react the same to emotional pain as they do physical pain. But thanks to that imagination that we developed, we don't even have to be involved in the situations I was explaining before. All we have to do is think of them, and our amygdala reacts emotionally the exact same way. Let me prove it to you.
Prove it!
I want you to imagine you're at a zoo and you're looking at the gorillas. I want you to imagine seeing a big silverback gorilla sitting calmly in the grass. I want you to imagine that this gorilla looks over at you calmly, just chilling there, and you meet eyes with that gorilla's big brown eyes. Now, I want you to imagine that that gorilla is wearing a pink tutu that's about 3 sizes too small, form-fitting every part of that gorilla. So he looks somewhere between a toddler trying to be a ballerina and a very overweight professional wrestler. Okay? Are you imagining this right now? Do you see that? Let me ask you something. Does that image make you smile? Does that image make you go like this? Does that image make you feel any sort of way? Isn't that interesting? Because that gorilla's not real. It's an image that I'm putting in your head. Now, I want you to imagine that that gorilla gets up in front of you and starts doing a perfect ballerina dance. I want you to imagine that gorilla has its arms over its head, its gorilla feet are perfectly up on its gorilla toes, I guess, and it's just spiraling around in circles, doing spins and pirouettes. Notice the more detailed I make the picture, the more your emotions react. Well, here's the thing. Our brain works the exact same way to the stressful pictures we create in our head. So when we create an image of this horrible situation or this catastrophe or things going wrong, the more we think about it, the more we obsess about it, the more details we give that picture, the more our emotions follow.
Or is it just happening inside my head?
Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why should that mean that it's not real?
It's because to your amygdala, it doesn't matter if it's a picture in your head or something in real life. It's going to react the exact same way. That's literally my job as a stand-up comedian. My job is to put pictures in your head that make you laugh. Very rarely are you laughing at me. You're laughing at the images I'm putting in your head. And when your amygdala sees a funny image, it's gonna laugh. It's gonna send out serotonin and oxytocin and all the good feelings. So here's the problem. When you imagine that worst case scenario. When you imagine your spouse being mad at you, when you imagine getting in trouble at work, when you imagine failing catastrophically and losing everything, your amygdala has no idea it's not happening right now. So it leaks cortisol. And just like that deer that was running from the lion, your heart starts to beat. Your blood pressure starts to raise. Your muscles start to get really tense. But the problem is, if it's in your head, there's nothing to fight or run from. So when you're experiencing fight or flight and there is nothing to fight or flight, you know what we call that? We call that stress or anxiety or being stressed out. And most people live their entire life in that state because of the images that they're putting in your head. Let me ask you an important question, and I want you to answer honestly. Do you have problems in your life?
Am I right, Carl?
I have had some trouble.
Do you have issues, stressful situations that you're dealing with? When I was teaching in prison, we used to have a saying, there's two kinds of people in this world. Those who admit that they have problems and liars. Everybody's got stuff that stresses them out. But let me ask you a more important question. Are you in danger for your life right now, in this moment? Is your life threatened the same way that that deer's life was threatened from that mountain lion right now? If you're watching this video, the answer is no. It's not. Right now, you are listening to a little Italian man talk about gorillas and deers. That's what you're doing in this moment. If you are not in life-threatening danger in this moment, and you're experiencing any stress or anxiety, it's not because you're in danger. It's because you're thinking about danger. It's because you're thinking about potential pain. So how do we grab a hold of that? How do we harness that? Well, here's what you can't do. What you can't do is just tell yourself not to worry about it. Let me prove it to you. I'm gonna give you the freedom to imagine anything on planet Earth. I'm gonna give you the freedom to imagine whatever you'd like to imagine. Just not a gorilla in a pink tutu. Do not imagine a gorilla in a pink tutu. Don't imagine the frilly lace of the tutu. Don't imagine the gorilla doing a perfect pirouette and putting its hands on its head like the McDonald's M and spiraling around. Think of anything else, just not a gorilla in a pink tutu. Don't think about a gorilla in a pink tutu. Stop thinking about a gorilla in a pink tutu. Let me ask you something. What are you thinking of every time I say that? Is it a gorilla in a pink tutu?
No.
That's the thing. As amazing as our brain is, it can only focus on one image at a time. So what that means is, every time I say the word gorilla in a pink tutu, what do you think of? Exactly that. It works the same with our stresses. If there are things that are stressing us out and we say, stop thinking about it, stop thinking about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, no, stop it, it's all you're going to think about. So how do we get rid of it? That's for the next lesson.